to the Bucket List Show. I'm Tammy Crandall with Journey Adventure Travel and Tours and Link Real Estate.
And I am Rebecca Denise with Link Real Estate, as well, and also Superior Storage.
Yeah, we recently made a change.
Yes.
Obviously, you're seeing that with our
Right.
introductions here today. Barron Real Estate is now known as Link Real Estate. It's just something that we've done to improve the suite of services that we're going to be offering here on the Treasure Coast and beyond.
Yeah, and
right?
it makes sense. We want to be the person that links you to your new home or your plumber or whatever you
That's
need.
right.
And it is about community and family and linking us all together.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
that worked
right.
out.
Yes. So the local link,
Yeah.
to be able to have a link to everything,
It is,
right?
and it's
to
important.
everything that you need to live, work, and play.
Right, and we're all supposed to be together. It's a family.
That's right.
We're
that's
here.
Right. So here on the Bucket List Show, we help you fill your bucket to live your most abundant life. And how do we do that? By bringing you topics, information,
Yes.
things about, travel or things about buying homes or investing. All of that stuff that's going to give you information
Yeah.
that could be useful for you, whether you're planning a vacation with your family or you're planning to buy a new home.
Correct.
Or even sell the existing home that you're in to either downsize or upsize.
Right.
We can help you with all of those things. So we are going to focus on today's show. I had the pleasure of visiting Adventure of the Seas. Royal Caribbean has
Nice.
a ship called Adventure of the Seas, and I just visited that ship. It wasn't even in the last week.
Yeah,
It was a week ago, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I love to talk about ships that are a different portion of their fleet. The Adventure of the Seas is considered a Voyager class ship.
Nice.
So she has actually been with the fleet since 2001, I believe. And yes, 2001, actually November 2001.
Okay, good. So it's a relatively new ship.
Relatively new.
Yes.
And even within that, Royal Caribbean is big about amplifying their ships, which
Wow.
means every few years they go in and they do an overhaul or refurb on rooms or activities or different experiences and adventures that you can have on board. And so we are going to talk a little bit about Adventure of the Seas today.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect.
All right, very good. So, 15 total decks,
Wow.
1,185 crew. These are international crew.
That's amazing.
Total of 1,557 staterooms on board. Double occupancy can hold 3,114 guests on that ship.
Wow.
And this ship is only 137,000 tons. So it's not one of the largest ships
Okay.
on the ocean. But what I love about ships of this size is they're very easy to navigate. You don't feel like you're lost for the first 2 days that you're on the ship. So
Nice.
those things all make a difference. So I just wanted to share some things that I experienced
Okay, great.
on that ship. So we're going to go over that today. Now, of course, if you take a look at the front end of the ship, I grabbed some pictures when I was out there. She really doesn't look that small, right? 137,000 tons. She's not that small.
Right.
And then on top of that, she's got slides and all those fun things that kids
Kids love it. That's
Kids
perfect for a
and
family
big
trip.
kids and small
Right.
that love to participate in. And the great thing about this particular ship, Adventure of the Seas, is she actually goes out of Port Canaveral.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, and so from April of 2025, which just passes
Yep.
here a little bit, all the way through April of 2026, this ship is going to be doing 6 and 8-night Eastern, Western, or Southern Caribbean and Perfect Day. So it will include
Wow.
Perfect Day at Coco Cay.
Oh, nice. That's
Yes,
perfect.
Yes, which I absolutely love. So, so if we were to look and go forward just a little bit, when you step onto this ship, what people don't realize is they have artwork. They have art galleries on board.
Yeah,
so
I've seen
you
that
can,
before.
Yeah, so if you've never had the pleasure of attending, one of these art auctions, your thought process is, I can't afford any of these things. It doesn't matter. you should go
It's fun.
anyways, because art auctions are a ton of fun. You know, you can go to People Watch, or you can go to just spend a few dollars, participate in some drawings or things that they may have.
Watch the competitiveness of it too.
Exactly.
And the excitement. So.
Well, and you really learn some interesting things about the art and the artist that they are displaying on board. And then you got to kind of get caught up in the action that occurs in the middle of that auction.
And you know, the other thing is that may be something that you would have never done and exposed to your family, your kids, unless you did, if you went on this ship. So
Absolutely.
the idea that they're showing you all the, you're getting exposure to different things is great.
That's true. Now, one of the things that I always like to check out when I first board a ship is the atrium. This particular ship has what we call an atrium. Some ships refer to them as a piazza,
Okay.
which is really something that's usually in the belly of the ship.
Okay.
So you've got grandiose staircases,
Yeah.
usually 2 or 3 floors, where you can access client services, next cruise, if you want to book on board, which I would always encourage you to do. When you do a book on board, even if you're working with a travel agent consultant, you do a book on board and you make a decision to put a deposit down, a lot of times they're going to match that deposit with an onboard credit that you can use on your next sailing with
What a
them.
great little tip.
Yeah, and they're also doing things now where even though you've done that book on board, you've got so much time that you're able to actually pinpoint the actual sailing you
Okay.
want. You may not necessarily have to do that on the date that you do a book on board.
And
So-
if you're working with yourself as a travel agent and you book on board, do you just list that my agent is Tammy?
yes,
Okay,
so
perfect.
you can so
and then you can modify it and make it all
Absolutely.
perfect.
And then what happens on my end, just so you all know, when I have clients that do their book on boards, as soon as they've done a book on board, even if we haven't discussed it in advance, I get notification
Oh, perfect.
that says, hey, you know, they booked something on board. So
Yeah.
that gives me an opportunity to give them a congratulatory and make sure that I'm managing that process for them from
Perfect.
the time they booked on board
What a
until
great
they're ready to
opportunity.
sail again.
Perfect.
And then that way, they don't have to feel torn that well, I don't want to do a book on board because, you know, I work with this agent.
Right.
It doesn't matter. If you worked with that agent, when you do a book on board, the agent you worked with should be getting
Perfect.
the credit for your book on board.
And that's great.
And
Then
you can
everybody
just verify.
wins.
Yeah, and you can just
Perfect.
verify with them when you speak with them
I
as
should
well.
have done that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the people.
Now I know.
Yeah, the people that are on there is pretty good. So, but you'll look like just going back to the atrium. You know, there are various areas in the atrium. They all usually have some form of artwork that comes down from the ceiling.
Yeah, the chandeliers
And what's fun is the atrium is not just there for show. Like, you know, when we go out and we do ship tours and we call those ship inspections, we check those out because we want our clients to be able to see.
Right.
And I really wish I could sail on every ship that's out there, but there at any given day, there are over 280 ships on the ocean
Wow.
in any given day. It's just not physically possible.
Right. But it's
Okay?
nice that you are doing what you're doing. So that's
Yes,
perfect.
Yes.
And you get a
And
little
so,
peek.
So the great thing about atriums is they do a lot of activities there.
Okay.
So you might learn how to line dance
Oh, I want
in
that
the
one.
atrium.
That would be good.
They may have a special show, or they might do a 70s dance or a 70s night in the atrium. So, you know, when you go on a cruise, you can kind of get an idea from the agent that you're working with. And in our agency, we refer to ourselves as consultants. But you work with your consultant to be able to find out, you know, do they normally have 70s nights or 80s nights on this ship? Are there white nights, you know, where
Yeah.
they're using the black lights
Yeah,
and,
we
and
had
all
that.
the music, which is a ton of fun. You know, so if all those things are getting on, you can prepare for that stuff in advance and have your 70s garb ready or your 80s garb ready, you know, with your leg warmers and all that
I know, right?
stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
leg
like-
warmers.
you know,
And that's
oversized
such a big
jackets.
thing with, you know, the 80s discos, and you could see that locally here where we are. So that's
Yeah.
exciting.
And I have another picture of what kind of looks down into the atrium. It almost looks like a couple of like globes. This is literally artwork that actually sits outside of the area. They have these very beautiful elevators that
Okay.
you can see out of. that go up the sides of this area at the atrium. And so you've got a beautiful view to look out at everything that's going on
that's
the ship.
exciting.
It's like they put artwork there to just kind of tantalize the eyes, you know. So
And that's great exposure
Yeah.
for all of us.
yeah, it is. It is. And each ship that you go on, I mean, we're focusing on Adventures of the Seas, but each ship has their own type of theme for them.
okay.
So, and they're always changing that stuff up.
Yeah, I remember that in the cruise I had. They had a whole gallery of artwork, and it was just a great time to spend in there. It was
Now,
fun.
the next slide that I brought in actually has a full-sized vehicle in it, which is pretty cool. This area, which is pretty cool because you know, especially today, everything must be for the gram, right?
Right.
You know, everything's got to be Instagrammable, right? So there are plenty of Instagrammable areas on the ship, and this would be like one of those. So you got this really cool vintage vehicle that's in part of what we call the promenade of the ship, and a lot takes place in the promenade. Think of it as kind of like a walk-through area that has plenty of places that you can shop. And a lot of these shops, you know, when you are, whether you're purchasing alcohol or you're purchasing goods, these are all duty-free things.
Right.
Duty-free, which means no tax.
Nice.
Which
That
is
helps.
awesome. Okay. But as well, there are some eateries along those areas that are included in the price points.
Nice. It's like
You
an
know,
outdoor shopping
so
center
it is
inside
but
the ship.
except that you're not swiping your credit card
Card,
every time you go
right.
through, and unless of course you're shopping, you know.
Right.
But just some great things there, and they have all kinds of cool parties or parades up and down the promenade of the ship. So this is going to be one of those areas beyond the atrium that you will have so much fun of things to do.
And these are only two areas
Mm-hmm,
that you spoke of already. And you know,
Yeah.
there's so many activities that you could do. That's it's just going to fly by, and it's going to be
and
a
then,
great vacation.
The next picture in, it kind of shows like Royal Promenade across the top there. You know, the ships really do a great job of assigning groups or teams of performers. Sometimes those performers might be the very ones who are in the Broadway shows. So
Wow.
they'll come out, they'll go across that whole area that you see here in this pic that basically, you know, they've put on the dancing. If they're going to do the 70s night there, so they've got their, you know, their bell bottoms on. and
Saturday
all the
Night
fun
Live.
stuff. Yeah, they've got all these fun
Saturday
things.
Night Fever, excuse me.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live. Well,
Either
yeah.
way.
Well, yeah, Saturday Night Live was pretty popular in the 70s.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, so.
I was close.
Alrighty, so if I'm going to move over, and I only took some pictures of a lounge I thought was really interesting. There's so many lounges.
Nice.
First and foremost, so many lounges on board. And lounges doesn't mean you have to sit there and drink the whole time. They're going to offer you if you want something to drink. Doesn't mean you have to have alcohol. You could, you know, if
Cup
you
of
have
tea.
if you don't have a drink package, just keep in mind that any drink that you order is going to be considered a la carte pricing, and they automatically add gratuities, typically of about 18%. Into the cost. That goes into what we call an onboard account.
Okay.
For those of you out there who maybe have never sailed before, or maybe you sailed but you were very young when you sailed, now you're paying for it yourself, it helps to understand
Right.
What the cost could be. But you can go and sit in some of these lounges just to, you know, take in some people watching or listen to the entertainment that happens to be in that lounge, whether it's a jazz band or, you know, a small rock and roll band that's playing. And you can enjoy those things. And these are the kind of clubs that you can walk in, you can sit down and enjoy, and they don't make you leave.
Right. Yeah.
As long as you're behaving yourself, they don't make you
You're
leave.
good.
And you don't have to buy a drink.
Yeah. So
You don't
that's
have
nice.
to eat food. You can go and sit in any of the lounges that they have
Find
on
a
board.
corner and just relax.
Yeah, I don't have a picture of it, but my favorite place always on board Royal Caribbean ships is the Schooner Bar. And it's because I love the nautical decor
Okay.
that
Yep.
they have in there. They always have great entertainment. Sometimes they'll bring comedians in
Well, that's fun
to
too.
that area too. And then some of the bars that I've gone into, they'll do dueling pianos, or they have a piano
like
bar
that.
in it that has seats that you can sit around the piano on
Perfect.
to kind of do sing-alongs with the entertainer.
That's a good idea.
That's there, which is fun. But this particular lounge that I found, I just liked the theme. It was called the Imperial Lounge.
Aw.
And it was just beautiful, just a beautiful lounge. It had some beautiful statues in there, so those were in there, and then just lots and lots of lounge seating. And each of these lounges, like I said, have entertainment venues as a part of them.
You get spoiled on these ships.
Yeah, well, speaking of spoiled,
Okay.
I went ahead and threw some pictures in for people to see of what the Royal Suite looks like
Oh, good.
inside these ships. The Royal Suite is ideal for a person who maybe is celebrating a special occasion. Maybe they just got married and they're wanting it to really have a great room for their honeymoon. So this would be kind of a splurge for that person.
Nice.
So in the Royal Suite itself, it has a full out living room area with couches and chairs.
Perfect.
It has a section with a full out wet bar, with all the glasses and the things that you need. So it's almost kind of like kitchenette.
Yeah, you're spoiled.
Yes, you are spoiled. And that particular, there are some suites they have on board that literally have baby grand in them, and you can either play or they auto play.
Perfect.
So you can set them to play something. This particular suite, the Royal Suite, actually has that round bed.
Perfect for a honeymoon
Yes,
or
perfect
anniversary.
for a honeymoon. And it's not located in the living room. Like it literally has
So
its
it's separate,
own
so you have the
separate
privacy.
bedroom space. A really popular thing that a lot of people are doing for honeymoons now is even though they're going on their honeymoon, they've always traveled with an entourage.
Oh, okay.
So they may want like their own little private
Private area.
but they want family members to go. Maybe they have family all over the country, and because of that, their family's coming in and they're wanting to sail on the same ship. Well, they could do that. Well, if they take and they splurge on a Royal Suite, they can also host like tastings or
get-together,
small canapé parties and things
that'd
like
be
that
nice.
because the space definitely will accommodate that.
Perfect. What a way to keep on
That's
celebrating.
ideal, right?
Right.
And then I went ahead and threw this in because I'm all about my bathroom. I liked the bathroom is like the posh place for me. So the bathroom in this particular suite is just unbelievable. It's got a nice large tub with jets.
That's good. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, nice large tub with jets, dual sinks, all very modern
Good.
amenities, a separate shower with a seating area in
That's
it.
nice, too.
All beautifully
So you have that space and
marble tile everywhere. I mean, it really is very opulent. So,
perfect.
it looks, I would say the pictures probably don't even do it justice.
Okay.
It really looks so
you
much
really get to be
more
spoiled.
beautiful.
A nice bathtub and all that stuff.
And then, of course,
It's
a
good
big
pampering.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Oh,
I would
pampered.
agree. A big part of what Royal Caribbean does on their ships, and Adventure of the Seas is no stranger to this as well, are their shows.
Oh,
They really do tremendous Broadway style shows, and we're
Wow.
talking to that caliber. I know on some of the larger ships, the Oasis class ships they have, they really use some headliner Broadway show names, right? But that doesn't mean on these smaller ships that they're not the same level. Same level, they're just not called Cats, or they're not called Grease, or
Right.
they're not called Mamma Mia, not those
Right.
popular things. But in Studio B, which is the name of this particular place, this is where it's all housed. There are other, there's another venue for a larger venue for performances, but in Studio B, the secondary slide I took a picture of because I wanted people to see that's not just a floor, that is ice. So, not only do they do ice shows
Nice.
in Studio B, but they also have like open ice skating
oh,
on
that's
the
so
ship.
cute.
And sometimes they repurpose, and that's why they call it Studio B, because they can repurpose it for other things.
Okay.
So they've actually done some things to the floor where they're able to set up laser tag, you know,
Isn't that just amazing?
and like in blacklight style, you know, like so you're wearing things that glow in the dark,
Right.
and
You know, think about the cruises that you have so many opportunities to do things, and you know, for someone, you know, to see a play, to take the kids ice skate, and then we're going to down the water slide, and then we're going to hit a lounge to be quiet, and what an opportunity, because you normal vacations you don't get to see all those different things.
That's true.
And that's a benefit. Even you know when I did my cruises, they're just it's so diverse. Any day could be a new
Well,
day, and it's not the same thing.
But I think what it really does too is it shows you that when you take a cruise, not only are you getting these adventure amenities,
Right.
You're getting shows, you're getting performers in different or a
Right.
variety of clubs. You've constantly got people waiting on you.
Nice.
You know, if you don't know something, you can stop people and
Right.
ask them, and they're always very helpful, very happy.
That's a great way to travel. I just think that the idea that you have so many options and every day could be a new choice, and it could be we're going to hang at the pool today, or we're going to
Absolutely.
get up and exercise, and then we're going to see a show, and then the food. Well, the food is worth it either way.
Well, and that's exactly it. If you were to add, you know, what a lot of people who have never cruised don't realize is what's all encompassing in the cruise that you're taking. So, you know, you know, like your, you know, water glass water that you
Right.
get with breakfast, the juices that they have in the Windjammer Cafe, which is the buffet
Right.
on board there. So those types of things are included. Standard coffees. They have hot water there with a variety of different tea
Teas,
bag
yeah.
flavors, for lack of a better way to say it. You know, so you've got quite a variety to choose from
Yeah.
in those items, and those things are included. So one of the things that my husband and I have always done, because we're not huge drinkers, you know,
Right.
every once in a blue moon I might have an alcoholic drink, but I'm not that person who would typically buy packages
package.
because I just don't drink that much. But for me, you know, I take my Tervis tumbler or whatever I'm having on board, because I'm not going to drink soda the whole time I'm on board
Right.
either. And I just fill that up at breakfast time.
Yep.
You know, I fill it up at breakfast. You just got to make sure that when you go on board with something like that, that it's completely empty, it's
Just
dry.
like the airlines, yeah.
Yeah, you can't have anything in it. But that's, you know, something we do, and it helps us save a little bit of money at the same time if you're not wanting to spend the money on
Right.
a
And
drink
if,
package.
yeah, if you don't drink, you don't get the package, so that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And at the same time, on the opposite strain of the caveat, drink packages can be a great value to those people if, in the event, you are a person, you know, again, you're on vacation,
Huh, so-
okay? So maybe you're a person who wants their frou-frou coffee every day. And,
Right.
and you know what I mean by frou-frou. You've got your lattes and your cappuccinos with all of
The
their
skinny lattes,
non-fats and
chai tea.
non-fats with whip and whatever you want to, you
Almond
know.
milk and all that good stuff.
All those things that come with
Too many
it, right?
choices now.
Well, that's it, and that's just coffee. What's really cool with Royal Caribbean is, say you are a coffee holder, they actually sell you a coffee card, almost like a punch card.
Wow.
And if you don't use it all on that particular sailing, you can bring it for the next one,
Well, that's a good idea,
which is pretty
actually.
cool.
No,
you know?
that's good that they
Yeah.
carry it over.
Yeah,
I like that
so,
idea.
and those are for like that standard style of coffee. Can't use it for things like Starbucks. Starbucks is Starbucks,
Right.
you know. But they have an equivalent to Starbucks on board, which is pretty good.
Won't even know the
And
difference.
So I was using the coffee card for that the whole time.
Yeah, I would
It was
too.
amazing. And I still didn't get through all the coffee. I have a coffee card at home that I can use on the next
Oh,
sailing
good. So
that
you
I
get to
go
carry
on.
it over. That's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Well, we're going to come back and talk about a few more things.
Perfect.
But we're going to take a 2-minute break. Journa Venture Travel and Tours, where it's about your journey, not just the destination. Picture a world full of amazing places yet to be discovered. Where do you begin? Whether your bucket list includes cruising in the Caribbean, exploring vast nature in Alaska, or experiencing exotic worldwide places, we're here to help you fill your bucket to live your most abundant life. Your journey begins from the moment you let go
and let us handle the details for you. So call us today. Journ Adventure Travel and Tours, 772-882-3165.
Hello, everybody. I am Rebecca Denise from the Bucket List Show, and this is Tammy Crandell.
Hello.
And we're going to continue talking about Adventures of the Sea. It's a ship, and we were at the point that we were talking about Studio B and the greatness of
Yeah.
this ship.
Yeah, and I think we left off. We were talking about the ice skating area where they do a ton of different things. They have some open skate, and I had thrown in a couple other photos just so you could kind of get a peek as to what that
Yeah.
looks like. So you've got seating on the backside, seating on the sides, but even more so, they've got these private areas on top of where that seating's at.
Wow.
Each section of seating has a place for handicap. So if you have someone who's in a wheelchair, they've got a place they can pull their wheelchair up and in.
Perfect.
And it is 2 floors, so you can access from one of those 2 floors to be able to participate and be able to see the show. And then, of course, they've got an area with smaller tables. So if you want more of an intimate bar style setting, they've got some bar stools or tables that you can set up. And they always are serving drinks throughout the whole thing, so people will come by
24
and
hours a day.
offer. Yes,
Drinks,
24
drinks,
hours a
drinks.
day kind of feels like that, doesn't it?
But the idea that you could ice skate or play laser tag or see a show, and that's just Studio B.
Oh, yeah.
How
yeah.
exciting, especially for families and people that may never have ice skated before.
Now, one of the lounges, I know we've kind of been hopping back and forth, but it really is because we're following the trek of what I did on my
Right.
visit
Yep.
for the ship. And this next photo where you see these blue bucket seats, everything in there, this is in the Viking Crown Lounge.
Nice.
And the assumption is that only the concierge class people on the ship get to go there. And that's not the case. They've got a
Good.
section within Viking Crown that can only access. They've got a special, of course they paid extra, for
That's
their
okay.
rooms and that service. But what's great is you have the most beautiful view of the front end
Nice.
of the ship. Windows all surround. That's why they refer to it as the crow's nest.
Nice.
So what's great about that is on any given day, they could be doing games up there. They could be doing shows up there, whether it's a comedian, a magic act, or a small band. So, I would encourage for those of you who have maybe sailed and you've never checked out the Viking Crown Lounge because you thought it was something exclusive.
Right. No.
Guess what?
It's
not
not.
exclusive. So you can go in there just to check it out, check out the views, and see what shows are going on at that time.
And you know what the exciting part is every day is going to be an adventure.
It is.
And that's what you want.
And then once you have, danced all night long, you've listened to the music, you need to chill out the next day, I would encourage you to take a look at the deck.
Nice.
And I did put a lot of pictures of the deck because I just wanted to talk
Just a
to
little
talk about.
teaser.
Yes, and I put in this lovely picture. It says this casita could be yours, and that's because
Perfect.
they have cabanas that you can rent
Oh, that
for
would be
the
great.
day or by a few hours.
Oh, I would love that. That
so
would be
you
nice.
could reserve your space, and you are poolside. They have a couple different layers. I think these casitas are actually on the top portion of the pool deck.
Yeah, I got to go on this cruise.
But I know we need to be
I
on
want the
them all,
cabana.
don't we?
I know.
But it's nice because now you have this open air area where you've always got seating. I know sometimes it's a challenge for people to find seating, but if you can actually go in, and that's why it says this casita could be yours, because you can literally go up to the bar that's within vicinity there, and if it's not currently rented, you could rent it directly from the bar area, and they'll just put that on your onboard
Perfect.
account.
And what a just nice area if you want a day of rest, a little bit of quiet,
Right.
and you got your seat and you got the service. So it's like, everybody wants to rest, and that's a good day to have that.
Well, and then beyond that, and I don't have pictures of these in particular, but there are pools that the kids can have access
love the
to.
pools.
But then there are also pools in the solarium areas of the ship, and those are adults only.
Perfect. That would be me.
So if you need a place to chill and you don't want little rugrats running
Right.
around screaming, and some
Splashing you.
people thrive on that. I've arrived
I
at
like
an
both.
age. I do too. I have
Yeah.
I have a happy medium,
Yeah.
you know. But I also just a little inside track. Usually there's like a small buffet area in the solarium
Okay.
behind it. And what's cool about that is it's serving many of the same things.
Get a little
at breakfast
snack,
time.
have some
Well,
quiet.
like a breakfast like you would get in the Windjammer Cafe, but the Windjammer is like hustling and bustling, and there's people
Right.
everywhere, right?
Nice.
Well, you go to the solarium. Oh, you just get your cup of coffee. You've got like this mini version
Perfect.
of the buffet.
It's like you're away, being
Yeah.
away.
And quite honestly, I mean, the people who have brought their kids in there, these kids are not obnoxious. They're very well behaved. Like, you know that's the environment they're
Right.
accustomed to,
Right.
and they have been appropriately taught
Right.
how to behave in those areas. So you don't have to worry about kids sliding underneath your legs or whatever else. You
They
know
could
what
do
I'm
that
saying?
at the main
Yes,
kitchen.
they can
or
do that in the main area.
buffet.
When they're all
Yeah.
racing to get their donuts and whatever.
Yeah, right.
That
Or
they're
the
trying to
ice
get.
cream station, to make your own
Oh,
little
they gotta
ice
fight
cream.
me for an ice cream station
Yeah,
now.
that's like the best.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not letting. I love kids,
Yeah.
but get in line.
Listen, the whole buffet is just fabulous on cruises. I mean, it's just so exciting.
The ice cream station. I know this sounds so silly, but everybody has their thing, right?
Right. No, I love ice
And
cream.
I always find that if I decide to do a pool day
Mhm.
on this ship, my favorite thing to do is to just kind of revisit like I'm 10,
Yeah.
9 or 10 years old, and I find a spot that I can be by the pool, and then I get wet, I sit back on my chair, I dry off a little bit, grab an ice cream cone, sit back in my chair. When the ice cream cone is gone, I get wet again, I sit back in my chair. Then I get back up and go get another ice cream
Yeah,
cone and
listen,
sit back.
It's like being at Friendly. You used to get this big bowl of ice cream, make your own sundae, and be a kid for
Yeah.
half an hour or whatever.
Well, and the cool thing is, you can do that as many times as you want to,
Yeah. Yeah.
or you don't have to do it at all. It's all in,
And if you're worried about it, you get up and you walk the ship the next day because they have the whole fitness area too.
Well, that's the interesting thing. If you walk the ship,
Mm-hmm.
if you use the fitness center, I don't gain a pound
Yeah.
the whole time, and
You're
I
good.
nibble on everything the whole time I'm on the ship.
Yeah, I do
have
too.
desserts.
I love all of
eat
it. That's
at
the best
dinner,
part.
I go to the dining rooms.
Yeah, and the restaurants are great on the ships.
Yeah.
I mean,
It really is one of my favorite ways to travel. Is on
I
a
think so
ship.
too.
And I think, I know we've talked about this. And the very last slide that I included was just to give you kind of a view of there's an actual sports deck. So if you wanted to play basketball,
Yep.
get outside,
Burn
and
some of the
you're-
energy of the kids
yeah, and you're
or
right
your own
there
fitness.
on the top of the deck. I mean, where else can you go?
And listen, and when
play
you-
basketball in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah, right. But when we all have such busy lives and we're working every day, the whole point of a vacation is to kind of decompress and to play basketball with your kids. You may not have that opportunity all the time.
And that's true.
Or
That's
get a bunch
true.
of guys together. I think that's
Yeah.
such a. They've touched every area of our lives that we need and we want.
They have. And this ship as well, just like many of the other Royal Caribbean ships, they've got wonderful programs for teens
Nice.
on board. So all of those things, are available for them to take advantage of. And I'm just going to, Adventure Ocean, they have a teen disco called Optique.
Nice.
Splashaway Bay, which has the big splash
Splashy
bucket
things that the kids
and,
love, yep.
Yeah, and the fountain pads, all those things that they like to play, and of course the arcade.
Oh yeah, that's a
know,
big thing
you
too.
want the arcade, and that can be a nice relief from the heat for kids if
Right.
they've been playing really hard.
Or even us playing
outside.
Pac-Man.
That's right.
That was my
That's true.
favorite.
Yeah, me too. Ms. Pac-Man for me.
Yeah.
So, but this ship has so much for so many people. This is why that we as an agency at Journey Venture Travel and Tours, we love to work with multi-generational families.
Right.
And it's because there's so much that can be done for the families on ships like Royal Caribbean, Adventures of the Seas. And because of this ship, I just want to highlight a few things that really tone the adventure side.
Okay.
There are no pictures for this, so forgive me for that. But they have, on this ship, what's referred to as a flow rider. They have mini golf, a rock climbing wall.
Wow.
and then of course the Perfect Storm, which is a series of slides
Okay.
that they have on board. Dining, plenty of complimentary dining. So in the Cafe Promenade, as I had mentioned earlier, where you can grab a slice of pizza.
I'm hungry.
You know, they have the dining rooms and the Windjammer, which is considered complimentary as well. So there's always plenty of food to eat
Perfect.
while you're on board. They also offer specialty dining on Adventure of the Seas in a variety of different
Yeah,
tastes.
that's also nice, too.
Chef's Table, Chops Grill, wonderful steaks, Giovanni's Table, Izumi.
You have everything you need.
Johnny Rockets, which is great for milkshakes and hearty burgers. So, you know, those are the types of things you want. And then we mentioned earlier, I know I showed you pictures of the Imperial Lounge, but also just to give you a feel for, I told you Schooner was one of my favorites. The Sky Bar, it's at the top. It's kind of in that
Yep.
crow's nest area on the other side. There's a bar in the solarium, a Duck and Dog, and the pool bar. So they've always got pool
It
bars.
has everything you
Blue
would possibly
Moon,
need.
Boleros. They have a champagne bar in the atrium area, as well as the Crown Nest that we had talked
Nice.
about earlier, the Viking Crown Lounge. And then, if you just want to chill out, or you want to make this a week where you're like, you know what, I need to get back to getting my hands out of the chocolate, you know, M&M bag. You know, maybe you're having one of the, you've had a bad thing. You know, like I'm gonna commit to do this particular thing. So, you know, you can use the jogging track.
Right.
You don't have to jog. You can walk. You can walk fast. You can walk slow.
Yeah.
You can use the fitness center. You have unlimited use of the fitness center. There's no additional fee for that. The Vitality Spa is there and available. Spa
Nice.
treatments do cost additional, but a little fun tip, a lot of these ships will do an introductory like tour at the front end when you first board. And when you first board, and they're gonna do the introductory tour, pay special attention. It lasts about 15-20 minutes because a lot of times they're gonna offer you like a triple package of
Nice.
something at a very deep discount.
Good.
So you might be able to get your nails done and get a nice massage.
Perfect.
You know, that sort of thing. You know, they offer, for those of you who want to stay connected, you want to be able to share those
Yeah.
grams, those Instagrammable moments that you're having on board. They have Voom that is powered by Starlink.
Nice.
So
you got
they
all the
have got
Wi-Fi.
the best of the Wi-Fi on the ocean,
Perfect.
on these ships, and that's also included on Adventure of the Seas. There is a cost for internet access, but as well, when you are on the ship, and maybe you don't want to be connected with everybody at home, you know, but you want to be connected with those people that you're on the ship with.
Correct.
You know, they have a service within the ship itself, so you can access, you know, their app. Royal Caribbean has an app that you can access, and you can see what activities are going on each day. You can check them off so you know what your itinerary is. Make your reservations when you're sitting with your friends in the bar or whatever. You know, that's kind of how we did it, you know. The sports court we talked about. The Royal Theater is also there. There's the ones that have the larger shows.
There's everything you would need on the ship.
Yes, and photo galleries. So, you know, if you don't want to be that person who's caught up taking pictures, you know, they typically, if you're going to the dining room, they're going to take pictures of the group you're with. They're going to
Nice.
put those up for you to see. You can buy a full digital package or a couple of glossies if you want to. There's a variety of things to choose from. And then at the same time, remember I mentioned earlier you could slow things down just a little
Yeah.
bit? Okay. Well, they have an outdoor movie screen.
Oh,
So
that's a great
you could go
idea,
out there
too.
at night,
How beautiful
watch a
that would be. See the
movie,
beautiful
sit
scars.
back, get you some popcorn and a soda
Yeah.
pop. They've got a library on board. They have the card room. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, but Casino Royale
Yeah.
is on board. So a lot of people like to gamble when they're on board. You know, I like to, you know, drop my $40
Quarter.
and say goodbye in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But
But you did it.
But that's just me. That's my luck. I don't want to, you know,
Yeah,
discourage
no.
anybody. But certainly, so much
You have
to
everything
do.
you would need.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
And it's a good way that you're all together and you're safe and all these opportunities and you know, maybe I want to go see the theater and someone else wants to have a quiet day, or I'm going to hang out at the library and someone else is going to do the water slides. So the idea that everybody has something
Absolutely.
is perfect.
Well, and the cool thing too, and a lot of people don't realize this as well, you know, a lot of times you're in a rush, you know, even here in South Florida, we're very fortunate because we're in spaces where we can drive to ports within a
Right.
couple hours or
Yeah.
whatever. But if you have family coming in from outside areas, it's not as easy for them, or they might be living in an area of the state
Yeah.
where it's not as easily accessible as it is for us here on the Treasure Coast. So you can do a pre-night in hotels
That's a good idea.
that will store your vehicle for the week, and they have a shuttle that you can take over to the port.
Yeah, that's nice and easy too.
And then, you know, and then you can take that shuttle back to go pick up your vehicle when you get back. I mean, obviously there's a cost
Right.
for those things.
But they make it easy.
Well, and I wouldn't discount if you've never had the opportunity to visit Port Canaveral
Yeah, what a
and you're
great
there
place
for
too.
the first time. I mean, there are so many neat places at NASA that you
Yeah.
can
So
visit.
go the night before and you get, you know, another
Absolutely.
option, because that's a
So-
great thing for families and kids to see too.
That's right. So we are able to help with those things. Also, in that area of Port Canaveral, they just have fun places you can shop too. So if you're new to the Florida area, we've got Ron John's Surf Shop.
Oh,
That's up
everybody gotta go there.
You gotta go there. If you come to Florida, go to
Yeah.
Ron John's.
Yeah.
I'm putting a plug out there, Ron,
Ron John.
John's. Yeah. And you know, it's just you know, it's the South Florida girl in me can't help it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would just encourage you that if you have an opportunity and you have the time and you're going to be sailing, spend a day at
Right.
least before, a day after when you get back to just kind of chill out before you
Perfect.
fly out or drive out and away with your family.
So if they wanted to book this cruise or get more information about any other cruise, what would be their first step?
Well, first step is to call me.
Yes.
Call me or email me. You can call me at 772
Excuse me.
579-9536. That's my direct cell.
Perfect.
Or you can email me at tcrandall@journaventuretravel.com. Or you can even visit my website, which is journaventuretravel.com. You visit the website, it's got our phone number as well as emails
Perfect.
located there as well. So we've got a team of people who can help take care of you. You know, we've got wonderful associates that we work with. So we would love not only to have your business, but really to be able to play a part in bringing you as either friends or family together. That's really what we love to do.
Make happiness happen.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, perfect. So my name is Rebecca Denise, and if you had any questions for me, my phone number is 203-482-7297. Be kind, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us, and call me.
Call her.